if you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. If you don't think it's worth holding for a decade, you shouldn't hold it at all. Now come back to Warren Buffett. He bought Coca-Cola probably before you were born, right? Maybe before, like way back, a long time ago.
Was it more than 45 years ago? I don't know.
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, he probably had it in the 70s.
Yeah, I was born in the 70s, so yeah.
You can check. A long time ago.
Okay.
Okay, and when people say, "Are you going to sell it?" He's like, "Well, no. It's a great brand. It's always going to be a great brand. It'll outlive me, right? It's a great property. So if I sold it, I would have to buy something." Here's the reason you don't want to sell a great property. You would pay tax on it. So you would lose 1/3 of the value of your, if you had $100 billion of Coca-Cola and you sold it, you would pay a $35 billion tax bill. Now you have $65 billion in cash, and the cash is losing 15% of its value every year. So hold that and maybe more, right? If you put that cash in a bank in Lebanon, you would have gone from 100 billion to 65 billion to 6 billion that would be frozen in 12 months.
Yeah.
That's why, what's safer? Cash in a bank in Lebanon or the Coca-Cola brand in the heads of 8 billion people, right? Obviously. So it's pretty obvious. You're not going to sell. If my family owned the middle city blocks on Central Park in Manhattan 200 years ago, tell me in what year it would have been a good year to sell all of Central Park?
Never.
Never. Okay, so the only question is, right, is it a good thing to own? If it isn't, Warren Buffett's famous for this other phrase: if you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. If you don't think it's worth holding for a decade, you shouldn't hold it at all. We think that Bitcoin is the apex property of the human race. It's cyber Manhattan. One day, 8 billion people may want to live there. There's only 21 million city blocks in cyber Manhattan. They're not making any more. Nobody can make any more.
And everyone wants to live there.
You need Istanbul and Paris and London and New York because you have different cultures and people are living in the real world, in physical space.
Yeah.
But you don't need 100 great cities in cyberspace.
No.
You may very well, like, for example, there was a leading media company in every country, right? In a newspaper, the Turkish newspaper, the British newspaper, the Japanese newspaper. But now you've got Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, true.
Right? And Facebook and Twitter and Google have, there's no Google of Turkey, and there's no Google of Lebanon, and there's no Google of Syria. There's just Google.
Yeah.
And so the answer is, no, we don't want to sell it. No, we don't want to trade it. If it's going up 130% a year, you're getting a tax-free return of 130% a year. If you're going to sell anything, and this is the problem with the trading ethos, if you're going to sell anything, you have to pay the transaction fee, then you have to pay the tax, then you have to buy something better than the thing you sold. And if you can do that, then maybe you can be a trader. And I'm not saying in pork bellies and corn futures and soybeans and wheat, yeah, maybe you can trade that stuff. If you're a professional commodities trader, sure, you're a trader. That's your business and you know how to do it. But if you ask me the question, Mike, do you intend to trade digital property? My answer is, I'm going to find the highest quality digital property in the world. I did that. I spent 1,000 hours studying that, and I concluded that Bitcoin is the least risky, most secure, most durable, best engineered, highest quality, most suited digital network for storing property for 100 years. Right? I did that, and now that I've got it, are you going to sell it? And the answer is no, I'm going to buy it. Right? I bought some more. I mean, we bought $250 million a year ago. Today we have $6.5 billion worth of it. What do I want? I want it all is what I want, but I can't afford it all because other people are competing with me. And there are a lot of other people with money, and they're going to want to get their piece. So I'm not going to get all of it, but yes, I'll keep accumulating at whatever rate I can in any fashion I
That's a
can.
big statement. I want it all. That's brilliant.
My first advice is allocate time to learn. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm Saylor on Twitter, Saylor.
You changed that, right, today? Did you change that?
Yeah, I did. I did change that today.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I wanted to make it easier. I save everybody 8 keystrokes. And then if you go to hope.com, HOPE, you'll find lots and lots of resources, and there's courses you can take. You can take courses. The head of the SEC taught a course at MIT. It's free. Saylor Academy has a Bitcoin for Everybody course. It's free. I've got a set of lectures with Robert Breedlove, 15 lectures so far. They're all free.
Wow.
So there's a lot of free information. So the first place I'd start is get yourself educated, right? If I told you this is the most important thing in 100 years and you can make a fortune, or it's going to be the best investment of your life, but the catch is you have to spend 100 or a few hundred hours studying it. Do you care? You'll spend 50,000 hours working at a job you don't like for the rest of your life. So maybe spend 1,000 hours thinking about how to keep your money. So I would say that. And then my next thing I would say is an investment principle. You got to divide your money into 4 categories, right? And the average person says, what do I want to save? What do I want to save and have for my retirement or give to my children or just hold? What do I want to invest? What do I want to trade? And what do I want to speculate or gamble with? That's the way to see the world. If you're a professional trader and you've got smart computers and algorithms and you're an expert, then you can trade. If you're not a professional, don't do that. Divide your money into 3 categories: save, invest, and gamble. Okay? And if you want to take 5% of your money and go to Vegas and go and gamble because it's fun, or bet on sports or bet on soccer or whatever, do that, right? That's fine, but you know that you're gambling for fun. It's amusing. It's a good time. I'm not judgmental, right? It is what it is. Don't gamble the money you need to feed your children, right? That's not good. The last 2 buckets are save and invest. The whole idea of Bitcoin is you're buying 1/21 millionth of the money on the network for the next 1,000 years. And that's the only aspiration. It wants to be just pure energy, pure monetary energy. And the idea is don't screw it up, don't attack it, make it unhackable, don't mess with it. Take some amount of your money that you want to save, and if you think that's a good idea, you put it there. If you want to invest, you can invest in a big crypto platform that you think is going to change the world, but just be aware you're investing against all the other cryptos. There's going to be a high failure rate. There's going to be some successes, some failures. And you're also investing in something which competes with Amazon, Apple, Google, and all the conventional CeFi. Because all these ideas, it's NFT is a good idea, but it's possible that Twitter and Facebook could position themselves as an NFT platform too, or Google or Apple could. So, the issue is, I like the idea of owning it, but what if it's you invested in Spotify and then Amazon Music came along and then Apple Music came along and so you're an investor and there's risk, and you just have to be aware that if it's a venture capital investment, there's a 99% chance you'll lose everything, right?
Yeah.
If it's a small VC company. So if you look at these things, there's one thing, Bitcoin, which is a savings technology. There's about, there's 100 cryptos worth more than $1 billion. And then you've got 5,900 that are actually ventures. So 5,900 venture investments, 100 technology investments with a lot of competition and uncertainty. And then you've got one savings, one revolutionary paradigm shift.